Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 p.m., so we'll call the meeting in order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, August the 27th. If you would at this time, please rise. Pastor Corey's going to take care of some important business for us. We'll follow with our pledge.
Heavenly Father, tonight we're so thankful for the opportunity to be here. We just ask God that you will just lead us, direct us in that we should do tonight. We just pray your blessings upon these commissioners tonight in our community. We just pray, Heavenly Father, that the decisions are made will be the best for our community, because we live together, Lord, we work together, and we just ask God that you will just lead us and direct us in that we should do, Lord, to be able to make our community a better place, a safer place to live. And we ask your blessings upon this meeting tonight. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting signage. Okay. First item on tonight's agenda is our public hearing for the 2024 millage rate. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of opening the public hearing? Public hearing is now open. So before I start, and I know not everybody, everybody knows our meetings are broadcast on YouTube, all right? Not everybody's able to come to meetings, so one of the things that we're happy to do is have our meetings online. And so we had a very robust and informative discussion at our last meeting regarding the 2024 millage. How many people had a chance to see that? So just a few, all right? So in the interest of trying to keep things moving, I'm going to go over a few things that we discussed, because I bet you some of you are here tonight to ask the same questions, and you need to hear some of the same things that were mentioned at the last meeting. And so, and hopefully I can answer some of your questions, and as other people come up and we have a little bit of back and forth, we'll take care of what everybody's here to hear about. So the first thing was, it came up at the last meeting, everybody heard that this was a 50% millage increase, all right? Jessica, you got your clock up there, so could you minimize that? All right. Well, if you take the three millage rates that you see at the top, these are the three rates that the county imposes. This is what that's going to equate to your total tax bill, all right? And so if you look in the upper, in the columns, you'll see the history. So at the beginning of the year, when we pass our budget, which happens around November, sometimes a little bit later, December, there's always a millage rate associated with it. And staff looks at everything, and they provide the county commissioners a millage that they estimate is going to be required to pass the county budget for the next operating year. All right? So for 2024, the county M&O, this is the maintenance and operations. This is the stuff that takes care of most of the county services, sheriff, jail, lots of those things. It was budgeted at 10.61. You'll see that number right there in the bottom, 10.61. All right. So that began the year. That's what we went into January the 1st of this year, thinking that we were going to have to leverage to have a budget, a balanced budget, all right? So if you look up, and in the top right, that same M&O that same millage is reflected up there, and you see it's 9.51. So we began the budget year thinking we're going to have 10.61 based on forecast, and here we are at 9.51. All right. A lot of factors go into that. You know, we estimate revenues. I mean, you know, we don't know how many people are going to go buy cars and have to pay TABT tax. You know, there's tons of other stuff, insurance premium tax. There's other taxes that come into play. So you'll see that for 2024, the millage rate that we're discussing tonight is about 1.1 mils less than what we did in the budget. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up, and I'll come back to this in a minute, the reason I'm bringing that up is a lot of you are going to be here tonight, and justifiably so, you're going to tell us that, you know, we're spending too much money, all right? That, you know, we need to cut. And so when do we need to have that discussion? We need to have that discussion when we set the budget for the year, which again is done at the end of the year that you're in. So here in about another 2 months, you're going to hear the county commissioners and all the other elected officials and department heads discussing the 2025 budget. I'm telling you, that is the time that you really need to be talking to us and your other elected officials about your ideas for what to cut. Because again, and as I mentioned it in our last meeting, what are you going to cut? You know, it's not what you're going to cut. It's like where are you going to cut and who are you going to cut? You know, there are things that, sir, I'll be happy to hear that. But what my point to all that is, we're at this point in the financial year, we're paying the bill for the year that we're going through. All right, you're getting the bill for the services that were delivered to you and me as taxpayers at the end of the year. What we really need to be having discussions about what you want to cut is when department heads and other elected officials come to this room and present their budgets. Because now we've gone through the budget year, all right? Again, we're paying the bill for the year that we just went through, all right? Does that, and if that doesn't make sense, let me know when you come up here. So again, we're paying the bill for 24. Not this. This is not the county leveraging millage to do 2025 business. This is for 2024. All right. The other thing I'll point out is, so again, there are 3 millage rates that we leverage to pay for different types of services. You'll see M&O, that's the big one. That pays for most of the county services. Again, deputies, jailers, help me out. Road department, no, not road department, but most of your courts, that's a big one. That's the bulk of the services the county delivers. Other services are broken out, other millage rates, like your unincorporated services. That would be roads. Give me another example.
Animal control.
Animal control, those.
Planning and zoning.
Yeah, county specific, you know. And then you see the other millage rate, joint projects. We, along with the city of Thomaston, have it's joint projects. So those are functions that are jointly funded by the city and the county, and that is our portion, our contribution to those projects. Senior center, recreation, those types of things where everybody chips in. So we'll get to
ask a clarification on what you just said.
All right, go ahead.
When you create that budget, say the 24 budget last year, were you anticipating having to raise the millage rate at that point this year to cover that?
Yes, sir. 10.61 every year, and so that's a good point. And this slide shows a lot. If you look up here, all right, I got to do a little Navy master thing. All right, so if you see here in 2022, the staff estimated budget that we were going to leverage, the millage we were going to have to leverage in 2022 was 8.91, and it actually ended up being 7.36. 10.5, 10.05, 6.45, and then this year, this is it. This is, again, because a lot of the stuff that the staff has to do are estimates, because we don't know, what the actual digest growth is. All the value of all the property and stuff like that generates, the revenue that this millage rate is applied to. That answer your question? So it does. It happens at the beginning of the year. Because again, we have to pass a balanced budget. And so again, so here we are, and good timing. That goes back even further. That shows all three millage rates. That bottom slide, you can see how they trended. So back in 2017, we had a county M&O of 9.5. Here, years ago, and we trended down, and it went here. So everything is, if you combine all three, that'll give you a better picture. But you can see we're going up this year, but the joint projects and M&O are dropping. So when we said 50%, well, it's 50% based on just that M&O, but when you factor in for county residents now, these are just people that live in the county, you're going to see a decrease in your unincorporated service and your joint projects. So your net millage increase is total, it's like 16%.
Yeah.
It's like let me see, where's the number at? We're going from 1191 to, that right? 1264? Yeah. So I hope that, and again,
That's for unincorporated.
that is for county residents. All right? So again, I'm just trying to get some of this stuff out there, try to get ahead of some of the questions. So anyway, so if we need to spend more time on some other things. And again, the budget season. So the budget season, again, if there are services that you think that can be slimmed down, now's the time to be having those conversations, because other elected officials, county staff are starting to prepare their budgets for 2025 now. So anyway, I hope that answered some of the questions and concerns. So the net increase again is
0.73.
0.73, less than one mil of tax. All right. So the purpose of this hearing is to discuss the millage rate. I just remind everybody of that. So as I call your name, if you would, please come up here and stand on one of the two X's that we have up here. Remember that we are being broadcast on YouTube, and you see you have your clock is running. Okay, you have 5 minutes. So millage rate, Mr. Steve Blackston. Name and address for the record, and the clock will start.
Steve Blackston, 95 Big Oak Road, Big Rock, Georgia. Thank you, sir. Okay, so two questions. One is, you said that when are these budget meetings or talks going to take place? I know you said they're coming up. Can anybody tell me when that's actually going to take place, because somebody could be here to listen?
Yeah, we advertise those meetings.
We do.
Every year.
Rough month,
We
anticipated month.
November.
We do have a published budget calendar. I'll make sure that he has a copy of it. So,
Is that posted online?
It was adopted in a previous meeting. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, if that could be online, or I could get a copy of it, that would be great. Also, you mentioned in the last meeting, I forgot which one it was, said that taxes are only going to go up roughly $40, was one of the comments, if I'm not mistaken. Am I delusional on that? If so be it. I'm good with it. I went through and actually calculated it up, And it is only $40 if you use this year's taxes in the new numbers, but if you use the proposed tax and the proposed millage, like my tax is going up $143 on 4 acres with the new millage. Does that sound about right?
I don't know. I can't.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious. It just seems like that's a good chunk going up. Last year, I made it went up $42. $42 I'm good with. I can understand that. That's all right. $143.77. That's a little much. That seems like. So, yeah, I get you got to pay the public servants. We need them. You got to have them. You got to have your police. You got to have your fire. You got to have your different parts of government. I get that, but it just seems like that $143 is a bit steep. And if I could get a copy of when that's going to be, I would love to get that. Or if it could be posted online, that would also be good. So that's all I got on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Willis?
Todd Willis, 3490 Exville Highway. I know you said it's based on millage rate, but my things are, my complaints are other things that affect the millage rate, okay? So I was told the other day by the head assessor that the values of properties and the millage rate are two totally different things. They have nothing in common. And which, everybody here knows that's bull crap, right? The millage rate is based on the values, right? Do y'all agree with that?
So, again, this is about the millage rate, all right? And I told you that.
Millage rate is based on the values, right?
So, if, you know.
So the more the values is, the less the millage rate. This is about the millage rate. Okay. So my main problem is the millage rate could be the same or even lower if we had fair values in Upson County.
Have you and I know the answer to the question.
I have discussed this with him, and no, I have not appealed. And you may tell you why I hadn't appealed? Because if the values were fair, then appeals would be of no use, right? Is that right? Values are not fair, though. I have a house on Fifth Avenue valued at $78,661, when one down the street's valued at $40,000. So that's what, $38,000 more in the budget, right? And there's another one down there valued at $45,000. You go right around the corner, there's a couple of them valued at $34,000. I got a detached garage valued at $27,998 when there's houses on Thurston Avenue valued at $25,000. Does that sound right? No. So if the values would get fair, then the millage rate could be lower for everybody.
Well, I understand.
I'm back around
and I get your point. I get your point. But again, you need to be talking to the county board of assessors.
I have talked to him, and he talked to me like I'm stupid. When you tell me that the values of property is not affected and the millage rate are two totally different things, you're talking to me like I'm dumb at that point. Is he here tonight, by the way? Okay.
I'm assuming you're talking about chief appraiser.
Yeah, Mr. Charles?
Yeah, but he works for the board of assessors.
Which works for the county?
Which works for the state.
Like we talked about the other day, whose check does Mr. Charles get paid out of? Whose banking account?
But again, and like I explained to you, they are a separate entity.
So the head assessor gets paid out of the county's bank account. Therefore, he works for the county. Therefore, he works for the taxpayers.
But he's not accountable to us. He's accountable to the taxpayers, yes.
I'm not going to sit up here in front of everybody and tell everybody I think anybody up here is the problem. I don't think this board as a whole is the problem. I think our problem is the values up there. And and another thing I keep hearing, well, millage rate and values has got to go up because of inflation. Well, apparently inflation don't affect commercial property. Does it affect commercial property or just residential? Y'all know?
It should affect everything.
It should affect everybody. And yet there's a commercial building down the road there that's been at the same 120,000 value since 2020. So we've had inflation, right?
There are so many
factors. I've had houses that's doubled in value since 2020. Doubled in value.
And there are many factors. And again, you're not an assessor. I'm not an assessor. But
here's what I'm getting at.
They have a book. It's pretty thick.
I got like 40 seconds to stay on this, okay? Here's what I'm getting at. Y'all keep saying we need to appeal, but
yes.
If everybody was assessed by the same schedule, like I'm talking about over in Martha Mill Village, if all those were assessed by the same thing, by the same, the same scale, then we wouldn't have no reason to appeal. Would y'all agree with that? So he's our problem, people. I'm sorry, I ain't supposed to talk to them. Another thing I want to talk about is the original, this will tie back to the millage rate, okay? The original loss tax is capped at 1% by the state of Georgia. From everything I've seen and everything I can tell, it's capped at 1%, right? Y'all know that? Okay, how many on this board out here has asked our governor, lieutenant governor, representative, senator, anybody to raise that cap? Okay. So we need the loss tax. We don't need the SPOS because starting, this will probably be the last, if certain people in this county have their way, this will be the last SPOS that this county ever has. So I would suggest looking into the loss thing so that we could actually use.
We talked about things like e-host and things like that.
We don't need any of that
Yeah.
stuff. All we need is the loss tax done. All we need, because the loss tax can come off anything on the budget, right? Payroll, sheriff's department, anybody, right? That's what we need. We don't need these roads paved that just got one pothole on them. We don't need any of that. We need help with this. We need help with the millage rate. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Standard?
Yes, sir. For those that don't know me, my name is B.C. Standard. Live at 232 Reed Place Road. I'm a retired Georgia State Trooper, and what I want to do is just kind of complain a little bit about what's going on, the effect that it has on me. Is that going to be appropriate?
If it's related to the millage rate.
It is.
Yes, sir.
All right, my tax evaluation this year came out at $1,575, $800 of which was for education. That's more than 50% was for school. I'll be 75 years old this year. I have no kids in school, have not had kids or grandkids in school since last year, period. All right, the school tax, like I said, amounts to more than 50%. Now you're gonna add 16% on top of all of that. All right, so that's gonna raise my tax bill by $252, which makes it $1,827 per year. So I have to put back $152.25 per month to be able to pay my taxes at the end of the year, in November. I don't get a COLA. I have a good retirement from the state. I do have that. I did have that until they quit paying on the COLA. All right, so I don't have that. I'm about 35% behind what I should be right now. But y'all don't have anything to do with that, and I understand that. But the point I'm getting at is I lost my wife this past year too. All right, the only income I got or we got from her was Social Security. That almost paid the house payment, but not quite. She's gone now, so I don't have that. All right, I'm definitely on a fixed income, and like I said, I'm about 35% behind where I should be at this point in my life. With less coming in, and the county is asking me to pay more and more and more, where does it end? I mean, something's got to give. Y'all are forcing me and many others to make some harsh decisions, and we are not happy about it. Even if I pay my house off at some point and supposedly be mine, but that's not really the case. Because I'll be paying the county $152.25 a month rent where I can pay taxes at the end of the year. Because I know if I don't pay them at the end of the year, y'all gonna come get my house. So I'm just complaining about the overall thing and where I'm at and where most of the people in this room are at when it comes tax time every year. Everything's going up except our salary. Our salary is not. And inflation and everything being the way it is, thanks to the previous administration in Washington, then we all got big problems. And I hope y'all would look at that and address that a little bit better than what we're doing here.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Because I think you're about wrapped up, but we still got some time. Let's spend some time with you. Have you gone down and made sure you've applied for all your homestead exemptions?
Yes, sir, I have.
Because, you know, we did put that on the ballot, and the voters did vote on it, and that was implemented. So that was done. But that only affects your county taxes.
Yeah, well, plus I've got my property in conservation
Yes, sir.
too, on the way I could do
Yes, sir.
to ease it a little bit.
So-
But I mean, it keeps going up and up and up.
And you know, and you understand, I think everybody understands, that school taxes are levied by the school board. We have no influence over school taxes.
understand.
Although what you're going to hear later on tonight is we're going to adopt school tax, the school millage. But it's just, we're just a pass-through but we can't go back to the school board and say, we don't agree with you.
Yeah.
So, but.
We need to go to their meeting and complain to them.
About school taxes.
Is that right?
And you've heard several people on this board up here, and I know we've had discussions with the school board about the school board implementing homestead exemptions for seniors to do exactly what you just talked about.
Yes, sir.
To help bring some relief to folks like you, that, you know, a break on your school taxes, which is, like you said, is over 50% of your tax bill.
Because the situation is getting dire for everybody in this county.
Yes.
And the nation as a whole, but I mean specifically us right here.
Yeah.
This is home.
And you mentioned it, the cost of goods and services is going through the roof. You know, what you used to have to pay a state trooper to do what you did,
Yes, sir.
they're having to pay them a lot more today. And so that, the same thing exists for.
Governor, get off his duff too and get that COLA reinstated. I'd be much appreciative of that too.
All right,
Thank
great,
you.
thank you, sir. Reverend Turner.
Are y'all proposing?
Sir, name and
Claude
address.
Turner, Reverend Claude Turner, 129 Lucille Drive, Thomaston. What y'all proposing is a tax increase, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 2019 till 2024, my taxes going up $500. I'm retired. My wife's retired. We draw Social Security. I have to pastor a church just so I can get by. Where's the money being spent? That much money increased to y'all, but yet our taxes go up and y'all want more. You say our property taxes don't go toward the new judicial building, but the splosh does. And yet my wife orders something for $100 on the internet, costs her $108. Take a family down to McDonald's to eat, you're gonna pay right at $3 tax. Go buy you a new car, woo-hoo! Now you done run into something about $2,000 to $3,000 paying for that building over yonder. And the splosh, the taxes, it's all tax. When's it gonna quit? You need to live within your budget. Now, when I was a young fella, the county commissioners handled the business of the county. Now we have a county manager who handles the business of basically of the county, and he reports to the county commissioner. You hire new people, you got fairly new vehicles all over the place. Why don't you hire a couple of real good mechanics, repair those vehicles to where you don't have to turn them over so often?
Like we do.
I'm tired, and I've got a member of my church just this past week approached me. He said, I have a business, and I have 3 pieces of property. I'm thinking about moving out of Upson County so I can find a place where I don't have to pay such high taxes. Thank you.
Sir. Ms. Boyle?
Tammy Boyle, 245 Charlie Jones Road. I typed this out, so hopefully it'll be within my 5 minutes. So in a previous commission meeting, it was challenged to us to find where we can cut expenses. So I sent an email back on August the 10th, and I expressed my concern over the millage increase. I have worked for the state of Georgia for over 23 years, and I've seen furloughs, early retirement incentives, many years without salary increases, all due to budgetary cuts. And in that same email, it was replied to by Mr. Allen. He asked me, was I advocating for a reduction in force through elimination or reduction of services? So I'm here this evening to answer that question. When any business that operates within a budget is faced with increasing costs, inflation, unexpected expenses, they either curb their current spending, trim the current obligations, or they're forced to think about personnel changes. Having stated that, I want to make it clear, I understand that some positions are of safety and that they're needed, and I also understand that some positions should not be cut. However, I'd like to say also that the county has 293 positions on record. 262 currently are filled, which is an increase of 38.6% from 2023. Perhaps the county can begin by trimming those extra vacant positions. Another area that could be reviewed is contract services. For example, Loving Contracting, the company that was hired to pick up litter on the roadways, has this contract been terminated in 2024? Or are we still paying them? Are there any other contracts that could be reduced or eliminated? In recent years, it was stated that some of the biggest pay increases and benefit increases have been offered to county employees to remain competitive. With whom? Who are we competing with? County governments elsewhere or private sector? Also, from what I can gather, one of our biggest line items on the budget is healthcare costs, of which Upson County pays 100% of their employees' basic healthcare coverage. I'm not positive, but I would think that there are many businesses out there that don't pay 100% of their insurance premiums for their employees. Both my husband and I work for the government, and we both are required to contribute to our health care coverage by paying a portion of that premium. As a matter of fact, just this past week, we were informed that the cost of our health benefits, health insurance, would be increased 6.4% or 10% depending on which plan you chose or which company. Our out-of-pocket costs are increasing as well as our deductions. Even some of the lowest income residents in Upson County are elderly on Social Security. They have to pay for Medicare Part B and C and D. So shifting some of the health expense to the employees can trim those expenses. Also, you had mentioned that public constitutional officers, you just kind of have to go with the budget that they give you because you just have to. Well, according to the ACCG, the Board of Commission is charged with providing constitutional officers with reasonably sufficient funds that will not prevent them from discharging their legal duties. The Board of Commission, however, is not obligated to give constitutional officers whatever they claim to need. So I would hope that our Board of Commission, when it's time to review those constitutional officers' budgets, are doing so diligently. And also, I would like to say that I'm not technically opposed to the SPLOST. However, instead of the leftover money being transferred into the general fund to reduce county property taxes, I think the excess funds are collected and they are used to buy wants and not necessarily needs. Regardless of what you do here today, my property taxes have gone up for the past 5 years and will go up again this year, even if it stayed put. Thank you.
You want to talk about any of that?
Mr. Chair, we don't fund 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
Everybody has to pay, right?
we don't fund 100% of the employees. Employees do share some cost with that.
Of their basic health plan?
Yes.
Yes.
You might want to update your employee manual.
Ma'am?
Yeah, I think the employee manual.
It may not be as updated as our current policy is. And no, we no longer pay the contract to have the trash picked up on the side of the road. It just got too costly. So we're back to depending on community service.
When did that end?
6 months ago, maybe longer.
January 1.
January 1. Yeah. And then I'm not sure about those positions. That seemed quite high. We do have a lot of vacant positions that we have not filled due to budget, trying to stay with our means. And the last comment for you, so yes, you make a very good point about the budget from other elected officials. And this board having the authority to not adopt what's presented to us But I can tell you, there's a lot of communities that have gone to war over that stuff, and a lot of times you end up spending a lot more of your tax dollars fighting over budget things and other things like that in Superior Court. So, we are a small community, and we do try to work together. So again, you brought up some really good things, and I hope that when the budget calendar gets out there to you, you'll attend some of these meetings, because we'll have a schedule. And when these folks, because again, all these offices come to us with their budgets, and we listen to.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Are we all here in vain? I mean, the decision apparently has already been made. This is just one of those legal requirements, right?
I don't think you're here in vain. I mean, I don't know what the other commissioners are gonna vote tonight, and I'm not even sure, where I'm gonna land on this here. Because again, I mean, I hear you, it's tough. I mean, I face the same issues that we're all here. We face the same issues, but the cost of goods and services has gone up. I mean, we've got an ambulance service that we signed up 2 years ago at the height of COVID, when we had no ambulance service. And right now, it's about $1.2 million. And since that time, our EMS service is stellar. Have you had experience to the
I'm sorry,
contrary?
you said it was stellar and somebody else said it was terrible, and it was at the same time, so it just.
Well, I've not had any complaints about quality of service or timeliness since we had this EMS service come in. And especially when you look at what we had. So the rubber meeting the road here with EMS. EMS is the big chunk of this. We were able to fund that with, if you go back and look at the budgets over previous years, we brought down fund balance to pay for it so that we wouldn't have to do this. It's just we're at that point now where we've got enough fund balance to going into the next year, so we don't have to go back to borrowing money like we used to have to do at the beginning of the year. Tax anticipation notes. Something on tax anticipation notes?
Yes.
All right.
Something on whatever you want to call it. I don't even want mine lowered. I just want everybody paying their fair
Yes,
share,
sir.
and I don't think it's too much to ask for.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't think anybody up here disagrees with that.
No.
I mean, y'all have a conversation with Mr. Charles then, because I know for a fact that he's known about some of this stuff for over 1 year now. And you think it's been fixed? No, it has not been fixed.
I just,
Everybody should pay their fair share. It shouldn't be put off on all us citizens because some other people don't want to pay that much in taxes. I don't care. I'm just going up on my rent. I don't care about them. But, everybody should pay their fair share.
I agree. I mean,
Nobody in here, I understand if it's a county or city building, but everybody else is on the same level playing field, so we should be taxed the same.
they're charged with fairness and uniformity. That's what they're supposed to
On the
do.
fairness.
But as you know,
On both, matter of fact.
as you know, people learn how to play the system. I don't care what kind of system you got out there. And so when people are allowed to come in here, and there's legislation that may pass this year that may change this stuff, but when you go appeal your values and you end up going to the BOE and they set your value, you're locked at 3 years. Do you not know?
That's
You
my
know
whole-
people have figured it out.
Oh,
They
I
go
know
every
that.
3 years and appeal their value, and it locks it.
But here's my thing though. Okay, so if I go in there and appeal that $87,000 house and I say, hey, I want mine marked down to that $40,000 level because they are, would I have any reason to appeal if theirs was 80 or 87? I couldn't appeal, right?
Again, I'm not an assessor. I don't know the law and the rules that govern them, and nor do you. I don't think there's anybody in this room that's a trained assessor.
I would think
It's
there
a
would
very
be some
complicated
law
system.
Against doing charging one person one thing and one person another person.
I
One
agree.
person another amount. That just seems like there's something. There got to be a law against that.
I agree.
Especially from a governing body.
Well, there's separation of powers when it comes to taxes.
Y'all
You
all
got
get
the folks-
paid, everybody gets a check,
You-
just paid out the same bank account.
Yeah, but
The jail holds everybody the same way it holds the criminals as non-criminal. It'll hold you. And the law says we can't do it.
I'm just saying, I just want it fair.
I
And I understand it ain't fair to do a meal house the same as you do over here, up in a nicer neighborhood. I understand that. But everything in the multi-mill village should be about the same tax rate, right?
I have a 320 square foot pool house. There's a toilet, a sink, a kitchen sink, no stove, No shouting. And that thing is valued more than some houses in the city.
Have you appealed it?
No,
That's what y'all asked me. Have you appealed it?
I have not.
And you should be
I suck it up.
You should be across town with 7.84 acres in a nice neighborhood with a pool house and a pool. Then you gotta pay it's valued at $100.
Well,
But guess what?
again.
We're supposed to believe it's figured into all the houses, even though you can't see that.
Again, this is not, we're at the,
I just want it to be fair. That's all I want.
and I know you, I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last couple of years. And I know when you sink your teeth into something, you're not gonna let it go.
I ain't gonna let it go.
Don't let it go.
I'm not.
I'm telling you, don't let it go.
I want it to be fair.
Fair and uniform, and I appreciate
You know
that.
what, there's been a lot of times, I've been to this board, I've been to the school board, and everybody's talking about the older people, right? Why should they be paying more than these other people? That's a heck of a place to start, I believe.
Well, and that's why,
Fair to value.
that's why we were happy that the work that everybody did to get the homestead exemption passed on at least for county taxes was approved at the state and approved by the voters. But we didn't see coming was all this inflation that pretty much wiped all that out.
Like I say, if you own certain commercial properties, the inflation don't affect you there a bit.
Right. Well,
Don't affect you a bit.
again, we're here to talk about the millage to pay the bill for this year. Yes, sir. Mr. Whitmire. Got 3 more to go, folks. Hang in there.
Howard Whitmire, 99 Diamond Head, Thomaston. I got to plead ignorance on how the whole process works, but I just want to express my displeasure on having to pay more tax. I'm retired as well, and irregardless, I don't want to pay any more tax. In fact, that you're going up on taxes, and then when I got eyes, I can see, I know that we got things around here. Somebody mentioned the new trucks. You can't go anywhere. I go down to Tractor Supply and see 2 brand new Upson County trucks. One's a county truck, one's a school truck. I know you say there's 2 different entities, but from my standpoint, my perception is it's the same thing. The school, I know you say it's a separate entity, but putting down turf and lights, who asked for that? I mean, I got to pay for that. I don't want Spur Bluff Park out here. That's a waste of money. Why we got? I know you might say, well, it pays for itself, but I can't believe that.
It doesn't.
I heard on radio we're going to re-sign up for energy management service. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's a bag of tricks. I mean, I've come from that industry, and I know there's no savings in it. You're just paying for a service that, frankly, we shouldn't need. I mean, everybody's got a thermostat or some kind of local controller. Let that do the job. If it won't, then you didn't get what you paid for. The airport. Maybe that airport is self-funding itself. I don't know, but
Yes, sir.
and I would like to, I plan on getting more involved, get more educated on what's paid for water around here. But right now, I feel like I'm dependent on the people that I helped elect, get involved to look out for my interest.
Yeah.
And when my taxes go up, I wouldn't have a job. I ain't no way I'm sitting here listening to everybody complain. But apparently some people want it. Well, if you want it, I need somebody to look out for my interest. I don't want to pay no more taxes. And I'm not that sure that we get all these services. You're talking about the EMS. I remember years ago when the decision was made to take it away from the hospital. It was done in-house, and they pushed it to a contractor maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
A long time ago, more than that.
Well, 3 days after the contract was let, they called and said, "Hey, we can't do it for what we negotiated for." And that should have been a red flag right there. But anyway, I know that this whole deal with the Brightmark thing is going to bring in revenue supposedly, but in my mind, that's just going to be a big garbage dump moving down here. We got to get some revenue. All these people that were against damming the Flint River, dam that thing up, and let's have a lake. We don't need a garbage dump, but we could sure use a nice lake on that Flint River. But and I know you're gonna tell me it's against the law. It's got to go through legislature. There's a lot of that government, But that's my perspective as an ignorant citizen. My taxes are going up, and I don't like it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Ms. Ragsdale?
Brenda Ragsdale, I'm 20 Bishop Road. First of all, like I said, I've talked to Mr. Paul Jones. He's been very polite, returned my calls in a timely manner, answered questions. I appreciate that. Mr. Allen stated 2 weeks ago that the citizens voted for the judicial building. From my research, I found out on November 2nd, 2021, there was a SPLOST referendum that included the building of the judicial system. However, 1 month earlier, on October 2nd, 2021, the land was purchased for the building. So I'm not sure we quite voted for the building and the land. A little deceiving there. Third, we the people do not want a tax increase. We the people are having to budget accordingly, and we're having to make changes. Regardless of what we spent last year, how much we spent on vacation, overspent, we've got to correct that this year. And we expect you guys to do the same. From what I've gathered from the financial manager, we have millions in reserve, 10 million. I'm like, Mr. Allen, I'm not sure how all of it works. There's a lot of terminology I need to learn. But if we got that money and there's any way you could use some of that to help us out. Would you please even consider 25% tax increase instead of 50? Meet us halfway.
We're not doing it 50.
The state said you had to word it that way, okay? You're raising it 3%. You're raising it 50% of the 6%. So I'm using the state terminology they said you guys had to use. Am I correct there?
On the one, the one.
The six, the M&O. The M&O, the 6%, the 6%, it went up 3%. That's half of 6. That's where I'm getting the 50. I'm trying to use your terminology. Could you meet us and just do half of that? Let us know that we're being heard. Let us know that you are listening to we the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Blackson, Rusty.
My name's Rusty Blackson, 387 Family Road, Rock, Georgia. Gentlemen, I'm going to say some things tonight that may cost me some friendship. If I do, I'm going to be saying the truth. First, a question you don't have to answer, you don't really probably don't want to. My question is, why did you run for this office? Seriously, why did you run for this office? This is going to lead into your millage rate before it's over with. It was stated up here a meeting or two ago that there was 40 additional extra jobs that have been created since I left office. There are departments now that has assistant, that department head has assistants who have assistant to the assistant who has now hired groundkeepers and bought equipment just to maintain the yards, which we used to run with one department head, 2 retired citizens, and the rec department kept the grass cut and kept clean. So how much has that increased our budget over the years? And I've been in your position. I know what you're talking about. When you meet with a constitutional officer, they say this is it. But how hard did you fight with all these agencies? I mean, I have been sitting in your seat and been threatened by a constitutional officer saying, you're going to give it to me, I'll see you in court. And he had that right. But we worked things out. He reduced his budget substantially, and we was all happy. Just little things like it, $8,000 to $10,000 here and there. Before you know it, you cut it 100, 200, 300,000. And back to why did you run for the office? I may be letting cat. I'm not against anybody here. You do have a job. You do deserve to be compensated. But how many senior citizens in here have got a 100% increase in your income in the last 8 years? When I was in office, a commissioner made $9,000 a year. The chairman made 11 or 12. I forgot which it was. There's not a commissioner sitting up here according to your salaries furnished that's making less than $20,500 a year. Some up to $25,000 plus. Do you think that's fair to increase your salary that much? That could be just a little bit like if you went back to the old salary.
Most people remember this or not, and I don't want to interrupt you and add to your time. There's never been a vote for a salary increase by anybody here. It's all been driven by the state, and just like when you were in office, your salary formula, I'm assuming it was the same salary formula that is today. Now you're just looking, fast forward a few years, and cost of living and all that stuff, this board has never voted itself a salary increase.
Okay, well, no reflection on Mr. Tinsley. You do a good job. But when I left office, our county manager, we at that time, we just raised him up to, I think, $68,000. Now we're paying our county manager $165,000. That's a $100,000 increase. I'm not saying you're not worth it, but I'm just saying that's a $100,000 increase in one position. You said if anybody could show you where to make cuts, you'd eat them. You said something like that, some of that on the radio. These are just a few things that I could show you. I'm not saying you didn't do your due diligence working on this budget, but it seems like it could have been trimmed a lot more, and yes, sir, I'll make it real quick. Question, Justice Center, if anybody can give me a close estimate of how much this is going to cost within $3 to $5 million total package?
To complete construction,
To complete project down there.
we had a guaranteed maximum not to exceed price, Jason, what was the, with FFE, where were we at, 22?
The contract's 21.9.
Okay, well, close enough.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was in office, a 6-year property tax brought in roughly $16 million. That's when the economy was pretty good. I don't know if it's better or worse now. But if this is a let's just use the number $25 million project, and you only collect $16 million, the public is going to have to vote for another splosh to pay for that. That's not like that. I hope you people will vote for it, because if you don't get the splosh passed to finish up this project, it's going to wind up on your taxes, your property, while the county is drawing funds from other parts of the community, Lamar, Pike, Taylor, people that come shop here. At least we get some money from them to help offset that.
Can I ask a question on that point? Do we
Sir,
have to
let him
finish that
fi-
project?
You voted on it.
And this is a question for the attorney. All county agencies that conduct a meeting, are they required by law to post an agenda?
You're gonna have to be a little more specific.
Industrial Development
Mr. Chairman, if
Authority,
you want me to.
Industrial Development Authority, are they required by law? I've been told, some people there said they're not, to post an agenda. But Georgia law says they have to post an agenda visible to the public or on their website. Now, is that correct?
No, the rule is that we have to post it in a public place. It's posted on the front door of our office.
And it
That's
also
public place.
says on your website, if you have one, look under 5014-1.
I'll look it up.
Okay. That's all I got. I'm just against this tax increase. I'm sorry. I think it could have been cut a lot more in my time. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So, is there anything anybody wants to mention on anything else? Okay. The comment was made, did you waste your time? No, you didn't waste your time. I mean, I hope that, through this conversation, you got a little more about how the process works. We do need a lot of.
I did just now. As long as he posted on the front door, who's going to go there to see
Yeah.
it?
All right, we got you. So,
Oh my gosh.
well, just like this meeting right here, right now, is being posted on YouTube. You can go back almost 2 years, probably over 2 years now, that every county commission meeting is on YouTube. And I know everybody in here is not a YouTube person.
That is great.
And we're the only body in Upson County that has done it and continues to do it.
Exactly.
Because it is. I mean, people need to hear. I mean, you brought some good points up. And again, when we have conversations, again, a big chunk of this budget is EMS. It is. A big chunk of this budget is employees. When you get up here and you start talking about, it's, as I said it at the last meeting, people, it's not pens and paper. It's people. You got to have guys on those tractors out there mowing 3,000 miles of roads a year. When you do the math, that's what it comes up. You got to have folks in that 911 center dispatching young men like this. You asked a question about, where we're competing for employees. We do. and I'm gonna pick on you again, I wasn't gonna do it, no, don't pick, that man right there can go 30 minutes up the road and increase his salary substantially.
Don't tell him that.
He knows that. He knows that. You know, he knows that. And it's the same way with every county position, you know, especially trained positions, like your 911 operators. EMS, you have a hard time finding people to go in, EMTs and paramedics to serve this community. So we are competing for the same workforce. We are so close to the metro areas when they can go just a few miles up the road and work in Coweta and Fayette. And that's one of the biggest things we get in our budget every time that we hear from folks is like, I'm losing my people. We hear it primarily in law enforcement, we hear it in other public safety things, and we hear it from the courts, that they can go right up the road and make more money. So, you know, our number one responsibility is to make sure that we provide services. Public safety being one of the top ones. When that 911 call comes in, you want somebody there, right? And again, the only way that we can keep our taxes under control is through real growth, not inflationary growth, which is what we're seeing. Reverend Turner, I sparked a nerve. And
EMS, big chunk of money.
Yes, sir.
You know how much it costs to ride that dumb thing?
Yes, sir. I think I do, but I don't want to know. I hope I don't experience, but I'm with you. It does. So, but let me tell you this. There are counties, 159 counties in the state of Georgia, and they're all struggling with EMS. I don't care if it's in Metro Atlanta, Grady EMS is struggling, and you get down here in some of these other rural counties where that you can call, but there's nobody coming. So, you know, yeah, it is a service that I think we should be proud of.
Well, we had double the number of people sitting in this room complaining about the EMS service. So think that you here today complaining about taxes. We had a whole new group of people, double this size, complaining about EMS. So as representatives, we have to address issues. And that was an issue we had to address. And we were faced with the fact, address it or do without it. Now, I'm sure the room, the whole building would have been full if we had just said, well, we're not going to worry about it.
I don't think there's anybody in this room would say, EMS, the county doesn't have to do it. Is there anybody in this room that would say, county, get out of EMS?
Yeah,
Sir?
the hospital. Why can't they do it?
They didn't want to do it.
That's their choice.
They were asked and answered. They don't want to do it. They used to do it, but they didn't want it. They don't want to do it now.
We should have negotiated that when we were
Let them
talking
have
about
all that money in the
building a
bond.
new center.
That women's center bond.
So I'm not sure where that went, and I'm gonna allow. Yes,
I'll say two more questions. They're very quick. Question about the IDA. Can y'all, technically y'all are over the IDA, the election board, and who else is it?
well, technically, we are not over the IDA. The IDA is a constitutional authority, okay? The election board, yes.
He's a constitutional officer.
No, but the IDA is a constitutional authority.
But so there's nothing y'all could do to at least request that they do their meetings, them and the election board and everybody else, do their meetings at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening versus 4 or 10 or 9 in the morning.
Well,
Or either just start doing it or just start streaming theirs on YouTube too.
Okay, I hear you.
That shouldn't be too much to ask. Number two, I would ask that y'all please put off this vote until y'all are able to talk, at least find out about the fairness of the values.
But I hear you, but again, we are at the point where we're paying the bills for 2024.
I understand, but
I don't,
this is taxes due.
I
know Mr. Andy said last week that the city had to vote on theirs last week. Well, they didn't vote. Have they voted yet? They haven't voted yet.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Because they didn't have everybody there. Y'all the same way to where y'all have to have everybody here to vote?
We've got everybody here.
Well, somebody could get sick real quick.
Again, if you went over there today, and they said, "Oh, Todd, you're right. We got all this stuff wrong," and it's not going to change anything because the digest The digest is set. Is that what you were about to say? The digest is set?
The digest
approved?
is set. If you appeal anything now, it can be done through an ACO. It's sent down to us and we adjust that bill. But for tax digest approval purposes, they have to set the millage rate tonight.
So at what point do we go to him and say, we want this crap fair? We want it fair. That's all we ask for.
Tomorrow.
You can't go tomorrow. You can't go this week at all. And talk to the man that you need to talk to. You can't go today. Unless the guy I talked to
Yeah.
was lying to me.
There are 3 members on the Board of Assessors.
Who appoints?
County does. But who do they answer to once they're appointed?
So that's another question.
They don't point to us.
Well, if we're not gonna do that, then when do we apply to be on the Board of Assessors?
We'll gladly get you an application, and those appointments will be made before the end of the year.
Yep.
If you want to sit on the Board of Equalization,
Take time off work?
if
Give
you
me a
want,
couple applications, I'll find somebody else to do it, man. Somebody that will be fair, somebody that will demand fair.
And we can have up to 5 positions on that board. but
so
we
the
never
problem
get
is,
that
nobody
application.
ever applies, nobody wants to do it.
They will this time.
Yeah,
Like
it just,
talking into it.
okay. Sir, I'm gonna shut this down, but gentlemen in the back.
Is there any way I can get a little talk there? I got here late. I called the lady at the office yesterday, and she said as long as I showed up before comment got closed, I could talk. I couldn't be here the time I got off work.
So I was here for him. I didn't know I had to sign in. I've never been here before, and I'm trying to keep my baby quiet.
If you would, I'll get you to fill this out before you leave, but just tell me your name and your address for the record. And again, this is about the millage rate.
Yep, I'm with Jacob Rice, 1443 Hendricks Church Road, just out near Crest. So we moved, when we moved down here?
October will be 5 years.
5 years ago. I grew up in Griffin. I had kids. We got 5 kids. We both worked full time. And we bought a little piece of land out there 5 years ago because I didn't want my kids being raised in Griffin. And I look around this county since I moved here, and it's getting more and more like Griffin every single day. And to me, part of that is the stuff that's coming here, right? We keep adding stuff, and I get it. Everybody wants their little Starbucks or their Longhorns, whatever. I don't, that's just how I am. I was born in the wrong generation. I don't want none of it. I want my kids to grow up, somewhere away from all of it. And in the past 3 years, my property taxes have doubled. And I work full-time. Yesterday I was gone from my house for 16 and a half hours. I left my house at 5 o'clock in the morning and I didn't get home until 10 o'clock last night. Right? And I got to, because if not, I can't afford my house payment. I can't afford a car payment. I can't afford to feed my kids. I can't afford my taxes. And every single year I get that notice in the mail about my taxes going up, my taxes going up, my taxes going up. And I don't know what the solution is, right? I'm a simple person. I'm a mechanic. I can rebuild an engine, a diesel engine and a transmission like it ain't nothing. I don't do government. I was in the Marine Corps and I went to Afghanistan and I got PTSD and I like to stay by myself. I got 40 acres that I would be more than happy to sit on for the rest of my life. And she runs the Girl Scout troop in Thomaston, and I put every dime, we put every extra money we got into the kids of this town and this city and county. And I look at all these little kids that ain't got nothing. I mean, we pay for food every single time she has one of them meetings over there. We go cook and buy food for them kids that ain't got nothing. But if the taxes keep going up and we don't find another way to get this money or quit paying people 100 and whatever, I don't make $120,000 a year, and I work 16 hours a day. Right, so I don't know what the solution is, and I'm not up here trying to tell you that I know the solution, but I know that I can't keep affording everything to go up. And I get food and whatever ain't y'all's deal, but we approving SPLOST, so I'm looking at these huge buildings we build, and we remodeled a courthouse and then turned around and started building a new government complex. And I'm a simple person, but that don't make sense in my head. And somebody needs to make it make sense. While we remodeled a courthouse, tore the top off of it, redid a clock in the middle of town, don't nobody even look at, just to turn around and spend however many millions of dollars building a brand new building right down on the bottom side of town, and it don't make no sense to me. And I don't know. I came up here tonight to figure out what's going on, because I ain't got a clue. And I'm like him, don't none of this stuff make no sense to me. All right, I don't understand, but I get budgets. I work for the power company, right? I understand budgets. And when they say, hey, your budget's out, guess what? We don't have no more money. But does anybody's power get turned off? You know, like, it is what it is. I mean, when the budget's out, the budget's out. You don't just keep getting, I mean, there ain't an endless pool of money. You know, I mean, the way that I'm looking at it, this county thinks there's an endless bucket of money, and this is the endless bucket of money right here. It's everybody's wallets. But I mean, I don't know. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your service. Ma'am?
Okay, I should have signed in for him. I didn't know to sign in.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We're married. We have the same house.
I got that. Okay. All right. Well, that's everyone. And so at this time,
She keeps flashing that up there. The M&O budget is 10.61, but actual 9.51. That makes me think we saved money. We budgeted at a higher amount, but the actual is 9.51.
well, I ain't gonna say, I know everybody who's not, I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you save money. I'm telling you, it's less than what we thought it was going to be.
We projected what the bill was gonna be, and it came in less than what we projected, so it's good for all of us.
But
Because basically, the millage rate we gotta set is paying the bill, just like you use your power and the bill comes and you gotta pay. That's what's happened. We've used the money, and now the bill's due. This is what this covers. We operate in the rears, if anybody understands what's that mean, if I'm making sense. We operate all year long, and then we send out the bill for it.
We got to cut now.
That's why I keep pointing out that the budget season is upon us.
The budget, and the reason he keeps stressing the budget is because we're about to create the budget for the bill that's gonna come next year.
So if you have public hearings on that.
We do have it, we post it, it's in the paper, it's on the radio. We do mornings, we do evenings, we do it at different times. We call in individual departments. It's all open, it's all discussable. And, you know, and I won't go back and say this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff been said here tonight. We feel the same pain here, and I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me because I'm not looking for sorry. But from 2019 to 2024 on my personal home, it has increased $312,000.
Do you feel that's justified?
No, I don't feel it's justified.
Wouldn't you like for the values of everybody else to be fairly done?
Well, and to answer that question, yes, but
Then yours could come down.
But I'm gonna tell you, I can get on that Q Public, and all I do when I get on that Q Public and start looking at values is get mad, so I have to shut it down, because when you pull up your buddy's house, you know it's worth the same as your house, and it ain't. It makes you mad, so I figured I was making too many enemies, so I just got off Q Public.
And the other thing, I mean,
Well, your buddies ain't the problem. The man right down here is the problem.
well, it's based on sales.
But it's based on sales.
It's based on sales.
I'm in the same neighborhood.
Well, I understand that, I understand, but when we talk about our values going up, several years ago, before I got up here, I had a guy stop me in a convenience store and said, and he looked at me, and you can't make this stuff up, people. He said, what are you gonna do to get the value of my house increased? And I looked at him, and I didn't have a lot of knowledge. I still don't. But I looked at him, I said, sir, you want your value of your home to go up? Are you getting ready to sell it? No, I ain't going nowhere, but my home values are down through time. I said, well, be careful what you ask for. I bet you, I wish I knew who the man was and I could see him today, because we'd be having a whole different conversation, wouldn't we? His values have gone up because we are in that area that people are moving to. People are moving out of Spalding County and coming down here. And guess what? A lot of this stuff is following you. A lot of stuff is good. Some of it's not so good. That's why, anyway, that's why the comp plan, and it's a whole nother conversation. We are working hard to try to maintain our rural identity so that the place you move to keeps much of its character as it is. I grew up here. I know. Look, when you can't make a left-hand turn out of Walmart, without having to go to the light, we got traffic is here. It's coming here. People are moving here. There are people in this room that 10 years ago didn't live in this community. You came here for a reason. You paid a lot of money for the houses you bought, and invariably, those houses are more than what you paid for them 10 years ago. But you helped drive those values up. Yes, sir.
If it was based on sales, then would a building that sold for $750,000 be valued at $300,000?
Again, commercial property, I'm not an assessor, I don't know what the rules are, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Should be the same, right?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Can I clarify something?
Yeah, please.
I think, number one, I think it's important on both sides to know how everything works and put everything together. And the general public really isn't up to how they assess the property, okay? How it has to be assessed according to the Department of Revenue. You're talking about sales, okay? When they do the sales ratio, they pull sales, the amount of sales to produce this ratio. Residential, they pull like 400 and something, and they take the average, and that gives us a sales ratio. What happened with commercial, they only pull 12 samples, okay? And you don't have that many to pull from. And therefore, the sales ratio went down. So that's part of the problem, that's part of the puzzle, is understanding how all that works. And it all begins with the Department of Revenue. It does not begin with the assessor's office. It begins with the requirements of the Department of Revenue, how they assess property, okay? And that spills down to us, I know. Our taxes go up because our values go up. But our values went up because $100,000 homes were selling for $175,000. Your neighbor's house sold for $175,000, but it was only valued $100,000 the year before. That didn't happen just in Upson County. That happened nationwide. And according to DOR, the assessors have to assess the property at the market value. So it's kind of like
all of them or just some of them? That's my thing. Do it. I don't care how you do it. I don't care how you go back in it, as long as everybody gets the same way.
They're judged by that sales ratio. Okay, and I know I'm speaking French here. I know, but the residential is real good as far as sales ratio.
Now, when you got houses right here worth twice what this.
And that's what they go by. I mean, you know, you got to take into account there's 16,000 parcels.
How many people they have working up there?
Yeah.
Well, again, let's try to get off the assessment thing, and I'm going to say one last thing, and I'm going to get this public hearing closed. They have to be within a percentage. If they're not around 40% of getting it right, the market value, I guess the sales ratio, then you as taxpayers really get penalized. The state Department of Revenue will fine us, substantial fines. Because I mean, quite frankly, the state's getting a chunk of this too, you know.
Well, so maybe it's good for us to go to the state and take a fine then.
Well,
that's
so
the place to get it right.
So there's legislation, there's stuff on the ballot. They'll change things. Look at the ballot that's coming up. I'm sure you can find that information, and there'll be some questions on the ballot. Sir, I'm gonna close it. One sailor to another, I'm gonna give you.
I met with the chief appraiser. He went through the whole thing and showed me, and I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Who's making the money? Who told them the price of houses were down here cheaper and jacked the price up? Somebody is making some money off of this.
Okay, so I appreciate the conversation, everybody. I know everybody up here does. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
That's fine.
All in favor of closing the public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. So we're going to move on. So, y'all bear with us. Next item on the agenda are public comments.
Public hearing.
Here.
There you are.
On the.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So, next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Commissioners Upson County are opposing a 6-month moratorium on the acceptance of any proposed preliminary or final plat for approval that divides any AR zoning district parcel into lots smaller than 25 acres and imposing a 6-month moratorium on splitting any single AR zoning district or parcels into lots smaller than 25 acres, repealing conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing for adoption and effective date. Is there a motion to open up that public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. All right, public, all in favor? Public hearing is now open. So just as what we just went through, same thing here. If I call your name, if you please come up. One or two sides, state your name and address for the record. And again, this is for the setting a 6-month moratorium on splitting AR. Mr. Steve Blackston.
Steve Blackson, still at 95 Peacock Road, Deloitte, Georgia. I went looking, as you said, you can find this stuff online. So I called the office today, the zoning office, and asked for where it's located. Lo and behold, not online. Your
What's not online?
there, the whole ordinance on what you're doing, the rezoning of it, and how it's all written up, it is not posted online. Even Ms. Guadalupe said, man, we can't find it, it's not online. It's kind of hard for the public to review this when we can't get a hold of it. The second part of it, as I read through this document, I have the draft document here, and if you want to check it to make sure I got the right one, the most current, I'll be glad to let you look at it. I only pulled out the major parts here. Agricultural residential is now going to be defined as very low density. What is very low density?
By this draft,
It's his 5 minutes. Your
Can
comments.
anybody- Oh, yeah, okay, it's that way. So nobody can tell me what very low density is in the county?
Is there a definition in the zoning ordinance that defines it down to a?
this moratorium tells us.
Is there a legal definition?
The definition is how many units or how many dwelling units per acre. Now, the minimum lot is currently 2. That's interpreted by what we've been talking about, not to be very low. Now we're going to define it as 1 unit per 25 acres. That would be very low.
Okay.
So anything that's one dwelling place per 25 acres, that's very low.
Correct.
Is that incorporative of all the area around you or just your own personal property?
That's AR zone property.
Okay, so where I live at on Peacock Road, at the Rock, Fanboro Road, 180 acres out there. Is that very low since there's only 2 people on that 180 acres?
It's defined by the zoning district. If your property is zoned AR, then it would be by this moratorium and the direction we're sort of working in, 1 unit per 25 acres.
So, okay, the question is that I got here, it's got to be very low density. And the purpose is to preserve rural area where primary activity is those farming, agricultural, livestock with very low density. The development standards for AR says in unsewered areas that you're planning to go from 2 acres right now to 25 acres. Is that correct?
That's what's in the
It's a
draft.
proposal.
That's the proposal. That's what y'all are talking about here tonight. So in other words, if I decide to give my son 20 acres of a farm come, let's say, January or July of next year, if it's 20 acres in the middle of our existing farm, it's now going to be made into residential. Is that correct?
It would have to be rezoned, right? If it's less than 25 acres?
Right, we have the other zoning districts, so if you wanted to split into smaller lots, you would have to rezone to R1 or R2 or...
I would have to, or it would automatically be done when that is taking place?
No, because the zoning you're saying you have is AR.
Correct.
If this all passes, the smallest you can have is 1 unit per 25 acres. You could not split it any smaller than 25.
So I can't give him a 20-acre lot, I have to give him a 25?
Unless you rezone.
Unless
You
I
could give
rezone.
them a 1-acre lot if you rezone it successfully before the Board of Commissioners.
So I have to come to the board to ask permission to give my son property less than 25 acres.
To
and have
rezone it.
Rezoned as agriculture.
To rezone it. And it would be agricultural. And again, this 25 acres is a number that's out there.
That's the
this-
starting number that we.
There'll be a lot more public hearings on this.
Well, that's what, last week, y'all, or 2 weeks ago, you was ready to go forward and see if you could adopt it.
the
But
moratorium.
That's what's written in here right now,
With
is
some
25
moratorium.
acres. So with doing that, going from a AR, which a minimum house size according to your documentation here is 1,008 square feet. If it goes to R1, my son then has to build a 2,200 square foot house to meet zoning requirements.
But you would ask for the R1, so that's your decision what you...
Why does it have to change? If it's AR, why does it have to go to R1? That's eventually what it comes down to. And the conservation easement, what is the threshold on that? How many acres must you have to have the conservation easement?
12.
12?
If it's got a dwelling on it, it has to be 12.
Okay,
No
so that would
dwelling.
still fall within your 25 acres.
We're not the tax office, so we deal with land use, not tax.
Still, this will definitely affect that. So my question is, why are you having to change it? Because if I decide to give my son 20 acres to build a house on, and it's automatically gonna get converted over to R1, he's getting done rather dirty because now he's got to double the size of the house he's got to build, which of course gives you more property tax. But it makes no sense. I mean, you can shake your head, no. You're 100%.
I'm just gonna give you an example. You asked for it, I'm gonna give you an example.
Thank you.
So, when the developer comes from across the road from your house and buys the land and splits it up into 2-acre lots and builds a bunch of homes, you're not gonna be up here complaining?
You know what? If I bought the land, that's up to me. If somebody else buys the land, that's up to them. I may not like it. I don't like paying the taxes, but you know what? I'm constrained.
All right, so now that those people that live on the 2 acres, they're now up here complaining about you because you have cows.
You know
They're
what?
disturbing them.
And there they are. If we don't.
A rural area, what are they, you come to the rural area and you saw cows.
What
when
we're
you
trying to
drove
do
up?
is define agriculture.
So,
So you're trying to.
all right, and again, we're getting outside the bounds of this, and all I'll say is, again, the purpose of this is the citizens of the county, through several years of efforts, have told us that, just like that gentleman right back there said, maintaining our rural identity, maintaining the rural characteristics of our community, driving high-density areas where they're currently there, so that you can sit out there and live in peace in your AR zones, where we call it the Wild West because everything goes. There's very few restrictions on that. You can have as many now unless you get into a commercial side, you can do all that. But what happens when you live there and next door somebody moves in and they're, and we don't do something like this. We don't try to do something to protect our rural identity, which we've been told to do through the comp plan. They show up and they take that 50 acres and put it into 25 2.5-acre tracts, and now it's all zoned AR. It's flagged lots. They got the minimum 30-foot driveways to get back there.
You know what? They purchased it, they brought a house to Upson
Right.
County.
I hear you.
I'm trying to figure out.
I hear you. I hear you. You're one voice, one vote.
Oh, absolutely.
There are other people in the community that feel otherwise.
So
And their voices were heard, just like your voices, I hope, in the comp plan development. So, and that's the purpose of this, is so we want to hear it, because we haven't decided. We're having those discussions. What is that number? Is it 25 acres?
25
Is it 12 acres?
Mighty huge.
Is it 200? Some people would say it needs to be 50. Some say it needs to be 200. Because again, we're not saying you cannot subdivide your property. We're just saying it once you start getting smaller and more dense, you need to have rules so that people go to Cheryl Jean Estates. They're potbelly pigs. I mean, I don't know that they're still the problem, but a couple of years ago, I was getting blowed up over the potbelly pigs roaming the neighborhood, going in people's garages. Zoned AR.
The landowner of the potbelly pigs and have a discussion with them?
Oh, believe me, he had a lot of discussions with the sheriffs, those folks, and animal control and a bunch of it. But again, if it's zoned properly and everybody does what they're.
But there's also.
All right, so do you have another point?
No, this is still on the agricultural part. So my next part of that is urban agriculture. Are you going to allow that in Upson County? Because that's greatly defined by a totally different set of rules, and that you're saying we're all metro. One county up, one county over is urban agriculture.
They have so.
It's not zoned, that is done by the USDA. Is Upson County going to
So
allow
that's-
urban agriculture?
So what we're talking about here is zoning. What you're talking about is something completely separate.
But it also affects what the zoning is set up, how it's done.
You're aware of any of that?
We do allow personal gardens. That's one of the permitted or accessory uses in your yard. If you've got 10 acres in AR and you wanted just a hobby, 5 or 6 or 7 up, you just go right ahead. If you're actually in R1 or R2, you're allowed to have your hobby farm. There's no limitation on that at all. Now, you can't do a commercial farm in R1 or R2.
Correct.
That's an AR.
Okay.
But if you.
All right.
So, all right, just curious, because it's defined as a
This is a
1 acre
subject.
lot.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, the board, our planning board and our board of commissioners are just getting started on these public hearings. So this particular hearing is just for the moratorium, which has an expiration date on it.
Just so we can establish.
Just so they can
the new
work on the
ordinance.
ordinances in the meantime.
So if you approve the moratorium tonight, it is set for 6 months, correct? And then at the end of the 6 months, what takes place?
One or two things, moratorium just goes away and it's back to the way it was. But the hope is that through a lot of this exchange and this dialogue, that there'll be an ordinance that will define what that number is. If it's 12 acres, 25 acres, 50 acres, 200 acres. I mean, that's, we want to hear, you know, what are you saying? Because again, there are a lot of people up there, not a lot, concerned citizens out here that have had people come in and buy 50 acres, and the next thing you know, they got 2.5 acre flag lots.
Absolutely.
And what used to be a very nice, quiet neighborhood is now flag lots with manufactured homes, which they can do by right because it's zoned AR. We're not saying you can't do it. We're just saying what should be reasonable. You
So
know,
individual
because
property rights of an owner is out the window.
no,
Well,
it's by
you tell me what I
zoning.
have to do with my property, pretty much. And I gotta come up here and pay to get it rezoned, pretty much. Thanks, sir.
Okay, Mr. Rusty Blackston. Yeah.
Rusty Black, 387 Fenborough Road, block. Steve pretty well covered all I wanted to ask.
If you speak up, so I can hear you on YouTube.
Steve pretty well covered all what I wanted to ask, but I do have a question. You talking about we need growth here in the county, both economical and development, which includes housing. How do you anticipate anybody coming to Upson County and have to purchase a 25-acre tract of land so they can stay AR and then on top of that build a house? They're gonna be looking at $1 million investment. How do you think you're gonna draw?
So what's the number?
What's the number?
What's the number? What acre should it be? I
I'd
mean,
say 12 at the most. That's the
I
same
would
thing
agree.
you get your conservation.
That's what we're asking.
That's what we're at
I
anyway.
mean, I think that would be fair,
That's what
It makes it
we're,
consistent with the conservation.
something of that nature, yeah.
that's what we're asking. That was a number that's been pitched around. You've been listening. Thank you. Mr. Boyle.
Chris Boyle, 245 Charlie Jones Road. It's going to be real quick because Steve covered pretty much everything I was going to ask you. I have a couple of properties out in the county, and I just wanted to know, we had taken one that was we were gonna split to give a piece of property to each of our children, you know, so they could move there, and this pretty much answered my question on that. But I am against it, because I don't think you should be able to tell us what we can do with our property.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you.
Okay. All right, no one else signed up for this public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion to. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Okay. All right. This is public comments.
If y'all are gonna vote on the moratorium, you need to do it now.
Okay, that's not covered further. Okay, back up. You're doing a great job keeping me on point tonight. All right. So, gentlemen, at this point, you have the ordinance in front of you that we've been discussing. Chair will entertain a motion on this ordinance.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'd like to amend your motion.
Yeah, I have to.
Make a motion to amend your motion.
Well,
Yeah, I
okay.
I would like to make a motion to amend his motion to just go ahead and move it to 12, because it seems to be the consensus that we talked about, and move from there backwards, forward for what we want to do. Because not trying to make everybody think I was on point, but yeah, I bring up 12 3 months ago when we talked about this. So I'd rather change the 25 to 12, do the moratorium, and work back from there.
I'm agree with that.
Okay.
Hey, you need a second.
I'll second.
So I have a motion. Well, you made the original motion.
Yeah, but it was amended by him.
All right. So
the motion is
I'm good with it. As long as I'm good with it, it's okay.
Okay.
So
Motion
I'm
made,
moratorium
second.
to move.
Yeah, I'm seconding the amended motion.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
I'm gonna say no, and here's why I'm gonna tell you no, and I should have told y'all that. I support it, but if it's not on the internet and it's something we're discussing, I'd like to make sure that going forward, it's on there.
It's on our website.
But our staff needs to know where to direct people to. That's the only reason I'm saying, I think we need to do a better job making sure that we get this stuff out there. So, anyway, there you have it. All right, public comments. Ms. Doback, did I get that right? Sonia Doback, 140 Crescent Road.
I think she was here, she left, she's one of my constituents, and I think she was just signing up
Okay.
as the sign-in sheet.
Okay.
But I think she had something.
All right, Mr. Chastain?
Good evening, Andy Chastain, Upshur County Tax Commissioner, 116 West Main Street. Here to talk about the relocation of the tag and tax office and to the Drake Building renovation project and all that. Have a few comments about it, but first, I want to make this statement. I've been invited to one meeting concerning this move, and from what I understand, there's been several other meetings. Now, this is an office that I have, and true, y'all can put this office anywhere you want to. But don't you think it's wise to consult the person who's going to be running that office when you come up with plans? I had to invite myself to the last meeting that y'all had concerning renovation and relocation.
When you say y'all, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are you talking about the Board of Commissioners, or are you talking about the user group meeting that Snyder's had?
Yeah, y'all, this is y'all's idea.
But I understand it, but you've been
This is
included
y'all's
in,
idea.
you've been included in those discussions with Snyder?
This is my 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
right?
I'll add to it if I have to. I just want to make it clear, I understood. So you're talking about
This is
us?
my 5 minutes.
We'll start it over. You can get 5 more minutes.
Well, all right, so I'm there, okay? So don't you think it's wise to come to me and say, hey, you know, I've had them come over and look at my office twice, say, yeah, this is what we need, this is what we need. But when the final plan comes out that y'all are supposedly, I understand, going to vote on tonight, will then move forward with this, you're not?
Nope.
Okay, well, I'm misinformed then. But I guess I'm here to say that I would really appreciate it if y'all would give me the opportunity to sit down and say, hey, this is why I oppose it. You know, I came up here and took 5 minutes before. You know, we're talking about security. We're talking about parking. Let me show you something. Pass these around. We're talking about, we already got parking problems on the square now because of court and all that. This is a real big issue. I'm probably going to run out of time just talking about the parking. But it said that there's 140 spaces available for everybody to park. Those pictures I took the Friday before last. There was no magistrate court. There was no probate court. Then there was no city court. And all those parking places, all those parking lots are almost full. What's going to happen, you're going to lose 20 employees to the Justice Center, but we're bringing over 15. What's going to happen with the 75 to 100 customers that come through our office every day? It's going to be a parking nightmare. You're going to have people going through the Drake Building parking lot. They're going to have to get back out on Center Street, come all the way back around and go around the government complex to see if there's parking back there. City Court's still going to be here. What's going to happen on City Court Day? You know, that's a concern of mine. Another concern is you're saying the 3 buildings that you're going to relocate or into the Drake Building, the Juvenile Justice Center DOT building and the courthouse annex, it costs $268,000 to maintain those buildings. Well, your pie chart right here shows that the courthouse annex takes up maybe 40% of those costs, which is about $114,000. I think that's $114,000 well invested leaving it where it's at. You give the IDA money, right, tax money, to stimulate the economy around here with industry. Bring in new industry, keep new industry. To me, that's a $114,000 investment to leave the 75 to 100 patrons up there on the square to visit the other businesses up there. You see what's going on right now on the square. There's stores closing down. That square is going to be empty when we leave. It's going to be empty. I sit there and watch customers go out my door, go down to Hometown Nutrition every day, several times. They're going to be coming over here, you know, and we're not going to have people shopping on the square. That's just one point. I'm talking about security now, as far as me taking deposits to the bank. I talked about this before. I don't mind taking a deposit to the bank on my own, but what about when I'm gone, when I'm on vacation, whatever? Am I going to be providing an escort, a deputy? I'm surely not going to use a bank courier, because that's money I signed for. I don't trust anybody but me and my clerks with that money. So it's the little things that I want y'all to step back and reconsider before you pull the trigger on this. And the one big thing is spending. We're talking about $750,000 plus or minus 15%. When have you ever renovated anything and not run into a problem, unexpected problem, and ends up costing more? We got a leak in the courthouse from this meeting that I went to, that I invited myself to, found out we still got a leak in the courthouse. We got a leak in the auditorium. Wouldn't it be wise to take that SPLOST money and fix those leaks first before we start spending on the renovation? That's what I'm asking you to reconsider or to consider. And also, any future meetings, I would appreciate it if I was given an invitation. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for public comments. All right, gentlemen, next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. For your consideration is the approval of the August 13th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion on tonight's consent?
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes.
I got it.
Okay, here we go. New business, discussion and consideration of resolution 18.2024 authorizing the 2024 tax levy. All right. So, I'll read it. Resolution authorizing 2024 tax levy pursuant to the authority set aside in Article 9, Section 4, Paragraph 1 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia and OCGA 48, Tac 5, 400, Upson County is authorized to levy taxes for the operation of county government and public schools. And whereas the Board of Commissioners has determined that it is necessary to levy an ad valorem tax on all taxable property in Upson County for the purpose of funding public services provided to the citizens of Upson County in 2024, and whereas all legal advertisements and public hearings required by OCGA 48, Tac 5, Tac 32, and 32.1 have been conducted in accordance with said laws, and whereas the Upson County Board of Education has certified to the Board of Commissioners of Upson County the tax levy it needs to provide funds for public education in Upson County for the year 2024. Now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Upson County, Georgia, do hereby levy an ad valorem tax on all taxable property within Upson County for the operation of county government for the use of 2024 as follows. Countywide general maintenance and operations millage 9.51, unincorporated joint projects millage 1.74, unincorporated service millages 1.38. Further, the Board of Commissioners of Upson County also hereby levies an ad valorem tax on all taxable property within Upson County for the year 2024 for the support and maintenance of public education and activities necessary and incident thereto in the amount of 13.63 mils. There it is. So, do I have a motion on this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion made and seconded approving the adoption of this resolution. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Watson?
No.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay. Next item. Discussion and possible consideration of an energy and construction services contract with Snyder Electric. Jason.
Mr. Chairman, this is the culmination of the work from the last work session, and just for clarity, this is only for the ball field renovation component of the project. I think you probably want to skip to page 23. So there, when we were dealing with estimated cost last time, I'm double checking just, yeah, page 22. So that would be your contract price. There's also a summary in the presentation that you have, which explains the full scope in a summarized executive summary. But this is the contract amount just for the ball field renovations, the lighting, some of the fencing, the full renovation of Field 13. Just like we discussed, it does not include, however, any work to the concession stands or the proposed batting cages, but they are working towards getting you an amendment where you could add those as they get closer on cost, design and cost estimates. So no change to the project scope. Contract reviewed and approved by legal. So I know that there are a couple of commissioners that have questions. Our representative from Schneider is here to answer those, so I would defer back to the chair to see if anybody had anything specific.
Okay, and then again, to summarize, this project is a project that is primarily funded from the 2016 SPLOST. It's Civic Center Recreation capital improvement that was done back in 2016. And so the bulk of the funding will come from that, and a small portion will have to come from the 2022 SPLOST. So we know that there are a lot of issues out there on those fields. We've heard them, we've seen them. The fields don't drain, the lighting is inadequate. And I guess we got our recreation director here tonight. Brian, can you just tell the board what's this going to allow you to do once this is done?
Yes, no, I mean, there's, the opportunity for longer play, more opportunities for the children to be out there. This is also going to give us, again, the opportunity to host tournaments, bring other folks from other counties in. This is really a long time coming, I think, for those ball fields, especially with a lot of the drainage issues you do see, which again, money that is being paid to play, we're having to move games and look for other solutions as well. So, I think this is going to be a really great addition to as we continue to grow the recreation department, and especially from a baseball, softball, ball field perspective. So.
And it's not just that the fields flood. I mean, over the years, it's gotten pushed back and there's lips. So these folks get out there, it's a safety issue, balls come up, and it's pretty significant.
Yep, holes in the field, yeah, absolutely.
Nash, you're chair of our advisory committee. I mean, something you guys are supportive of. Do you consider this a need or a want?
It's a need at this point.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I do have a couple questions for
yes, sir.
Schneider. At the work session, I asked about local participation due to the fact that we have several, grading contractors here locally. Can you just walk me through the discussions y'all had and what the outcome of that was?
Yes, absolutely. We did reach out for local and regional contractors for the site work portion. We heard back from 2 of those. But there is also, a lot of this work requires really specialized field work as well. And the site work and drainage work and field work really need to be done very closely in tandem. Very few contractors will allow that work to be split up. And so when it came down to the contractors that we believed were the best finalists based on best value, price, best experience, best ability to do the job within the time frame, which is very tight between when the fall season ends and when the spring season begins. It's not feasible to split up that work for this, but these conversations have led to more conversations about additional work we're looking at, which Specifically, there's a new grant opportunity we're pursuing on y'all's behalf that could fund additional work as well, and so we plan to continue to involve those local contractors in those discussions. So.
Just want to make sure they.
So what was the answer?
So.
It sounds like we don't have any local.
So it's a Georgia-based ball field contractor, Middle Georgia-based electric contractor, and Musco Lighting. So there is Middle Georgia-based electrical work, but in terms of the local site work, it just wasn't feasible for us.
Was it due to the fact that those two contractors were wanting the whole package and not just that one piece?
It's the ability, to execute. For one, it's, keeping the scale attractive to be able to get contractors to want to continue to work on it, which is one aspect of it. But even more importantly is keeping to the time frame and ensuring that the work is done correctly.
Because you're mobilizing next month.
Yeah, we're
just within a few
mobilizing
weeks.
next month. So in order to get that done and be finished so that the kids can play this spring, it really needs to be done very tightly, and based on our construction management team's experience, it didn't make sense to split up that work.
Okay. I have another question. Looking at the plans, and I know we didn't talk about the T-ball fields in the lighting package. One, I would like to see that maybe as a phase 1C, what that would take to get the lights to the T-ball field. But at a minimum, I want to make sure what we're going to put in the new lighting package is expandable to where we can add them at a later date.
Yeah, so in terms of the electrical infrastructure, if we did a renovation of the concession stand or a new concession scoring stand there in the center, that is where additional panel expansion would come for any electrical with the fields existing. But it is too far from those T-ball fields to really be feasible to feed additional electrical from what's all stemming from these fields. So they're really not intertwined. Brian and I talked a little bit about this. The electrical for the T-ball fields is fed from the Civic Center. So it would just be a matter of expanding the capacity from that side of things. It wouldn't really be affected by this particular renovation. So no really future proofing we have to do.
I mean, one thing, because I'm in this industry, I understand we wouldn't feed an actual electrical service from the new potential panel to the T-ball fields, but just having a conduit in place to easily access it when you do would be helpful, and that's not very costly to do that.
But I think it's currently being fed directly from the Civic Center. So I don't think that it would make sense, because there's already electrical feeding from the Civic Center out to those
That's
people.
probably for the concessions, though. That's the only electrical that's out there, isn't that correct? The concession stands for the T-ball?
Yes, the only electric right now is the concession stand.
Yeah, I still think it could be potentially tied into the lighting package of what this project consists of.
Yeah, so there's currently one light that is on its own separate meter.
Field 2 is actually the only, which is fed from the pole on Triangle Road.
So everything's going to be kind of contained within the pole with the Musco lighting systems at that point. So the answer I got from my electrical team was that it really doesn't, there's nothing we would really do with this project to, or change in our electrical design to future-proof. But I can, if there's further follow-up questions, we can have a discussion with our electrical engineer and make sure that I'm understanding what you're asking exactly, but.
I think of, asking about a potential conduit to tie back to it, because my thought is if the site lighting package for the whole complex is run out of the new panel room, that's where the T-ball field lighting, or in the future, the soccer field lighting, should all be contained in that one panel room.
I can definitely talk to the team and make sure.
That's all I have.
Okay. So gentlemen, you have before you, so is there a motion to authorize execution of this contract for this work to be done on the ball fields?
I'll make
Snyder?
I'll make a motion that we enter into the contract for these construction services.
Yeah. And just so.
In the, can you say it? In the amount of $2.9 million roughly.
Okay. To be paid for with 2016 splosh and other 2022 splosh. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? I'll just say this, I mean, this is a project that I have been hit with since my first day in office, almost. These ball fields, I've heard it from parents for years. This was done in 2016 before 4 of us were on the board up here. You voted on it. We voted on it. We said recreation field improvements to be paid for with the splosh. So this is a splosh project. It's something that, our parents, our players, and everyone has asked for years. So it's about time we did it, and if we start to work now, it'll be up and ready for the spring. So I'll talk to you afterwards. The public hearing part's over, so. All right, so any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think about in terms of this project, we've done the homestead exemption for our seniors, which is great. I approved it and voted on it, but this does help the younger population that's potentially coming back here and wanting to raise a family. As the youngest commissioner on this board, we want to make sure we have some of our kids that grew up here come back here. So I think this is an improvement.
Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right. Last item, comments.
None tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Jones?
I don't have any, Chairman.
Mr. English?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Watson?
Just one additional. At the last meeting, there was a comment that was made about not being able to reach out to commissioners. I just say for District 4, I'm always available. If you don't have my contact information, you can get email, phone, any of that through the county office, or I will give it to you personally. So I just wanted to make that known.
Mr. Ellington?
I don't have any comments.
Mr. Jones?
I just want to appreciate everybody showing up. I mean, this is, hopefully y'all learned a little bit, and we will be having these budget talks come the end of the year for next year, and that's when the rubber hits the road. If we can finalize, the budget going forward and work on equalization, we'll be better off. That's it.
Commissioner Wilder? Okay. I don't have anything. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Appreciate everybody coming out. We're still live.
I love that English like that.
What you got?
We're still live.
Well, I'm your commissioner too. Yeah. At least for a few more days.